Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Decision Hour. I'm Adam, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Patti.
Adam.
What's up?
I was just sitting here going through this big fat bag of candy.
I like candy. What kind of candy you got in there?
Retro candy.
Retro candy. Retro candy.
I haven't even eaten any, and I feel like I'm sugared up.
There's probably a lot. Most of our listeners probably think, "Oh my God, these two are at it again," and what are they doing? It's candy. Retro candy. We're actually talking about retro food today, and candy falls in that line. So, this is another edition of our retro stuff, retro food. How do we want to start this off? Because I can talk about food. So.
I know. Where do we even begin? I guess if you really, really want to throw it back, did you take a breast or a bottle, Adam?
Yeah. You know what's
so on fire today?
I think a bottle. I don't even know.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. I don't.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, probably. Ugh. Not something I want to think about.
So, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Let's skip over to your 5-year-old years.
Yeah. A lot of mac and cheese.
Oh my goodness.
With hot dog cut up in it.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. How long has mac and cheese been around?
I don't know. Mac and cheese been around for a long time, though. Long time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like some other retro. I wouldn't necessarily call it retro. I would call it just Midwestern homegrown cooking.
Comfort.
Yeah,
food.
like pot roast and taters. And carrots. My grandma used to make like a pot roast with potatoes, and like she put carrots and stuff in it.
Yeah. I would make that for my kids, and I love roast beef, right?
Yeah.
A roast beef dinner. It's so nice, and it's super easy. You can throw it in a crock pot, and it's like done later in the day. My son used to call it poor man's food. And I was like, why do you call it poor man's food? And he's like, because all the old shows would talk about the poor people eating stew. I'm like, roast beef is not cheap, son.
Yeah, no, it's not. I remember in my later high school years, we used to call it end of the month soup because me and my roommate were so broke that we would at the end of the month we would put everything that we had in like the cupboards into one big pot and cook it, and usually it wasn't much, and most of the time it consisted of like Mickey's malt liquor, but it was I don't think that counts as retro, so I'm going to take it back a little bit. Do you remember now technically they're still around, but they're dying off, but I remember the old A&W root beer stands.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yep.
McDonald's
yep,
too.
And the McDonald's ones and stuff like that. Like, so I remember as a kid, growing up in the 80s, I used to, when you could ride your bike everywhere in town, you had to be home before, lights out, whatever. I remember going down to we had an old root beer stand about a block and a half away, and we used to bike down there, and you could buy like the Tootsie Rolls for a penny, and then you could get a root beer float for like, I think it was like 50 cents. And stuff like that. So I when I think of retro food, I'm thinking of like the old school, and White Castle.
Yeah,
was another. And there's not very many of those. Those have died off over the years, over the decades, and whatnot. And I don't want to necessarily think of just like fast food places, but I think of like, Perkins is still around, but they're kind of dying off.
Ponderosa.
Yes, Ponderosa, yeah. So when I think of food, I think of stuff like that. Or I remember like the old school McDonald's, which is, McDonald's is still around, but like back in my day, you had like the Happy Meals that came in like the little flying saucers, and like they made like the Happy Meals like really fun. Like there was a toy tugboat that was a plastic tugboat where you put the stickers on it and stuff like that, and you could.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I mean that's like, old. In my opinion, that I count that stuff is kind of a retro.
Yeah, it is. I was just looking up some old prices at McDonald's. Now, this is before I was born in 1972, but it says on here that, for instance, a cheeseburger was 33 cents and a hamburger was 28 cents. A drink, a small was 15 cents and a large was 20 cents.
Jeez.
I know, crazy.
Whatever happened them days?
No kidding.
Inflation sucks.
I remember when I was a kid, it was like in the 90s, I think, there was a McDonald's that opened up in Flint, Michigan, and it's still there, I believe. And it's an old-fashioned McDonald's, so everything in it is retro. It looks super cool. But my dad used to go to McDonald's once a year. They would have a special sale, and they'd throw back their cheeseburgers to 33 cents each and their hamburgers 15 cents each. So this is disgusting, but he would buy a whole bunch of them and put them in the freezer, and then when we'd want one, we'd put them in the microwave to warm them up.
Nothing wrong with that. I see no problem with that whatsoever. There was a time in my life where I thought you could live off of, I would live off of McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
I think you could live off of them.
I liked them too, except I used to get them without onions when I was a kid.
No, I went full bore. Just throw it on there. Don't even care. It's going in my mouth. Whatever. Nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Patti, retro food. We're talking retro food. I want to know, like, what are some other food? Like, I'm trying to think of some other ones out there. Like, there's Hardee's was they're still around. You have a difference between Hardee's and Carl's Jr. But I'm trying to think outside of the main fast food chains that have made it through the years. That I'm trying to think of some other ones that are around. I mentioned White Castle. There's still a few of those around, but very, very few.
What about Big Boy?
That was one. They're no longer around.
Well, they have them in Michigan still.
Do they really? I have never been to a Big Boy.
Oh my goodness!
I've never been to a Big Boy. No.
Yeah.
What about candies? Was there any types of like candies that aren't really around? Like I think of like soda pop. I think of pop. Okay, let me ask you that. Do you call it soda or do you call it pop? Or do you call it Coke?
I call it pop.
It's pop. Where we're from, it's pop. If you guys disagree with us because you're listening right now, you're wrong. We're just going to tell you that right now. We're not ashamed to tell you that you're wrong. That's fine. It's probably the first time today that you're wrong, but it's called pop. That's where we're from. It's called pop. Because some areas they call it soda, and some people they just call it Coke. Do you want a Coke? Yeah. What kind? What do you mean? What kind? Oh, I'll take a Sprite. Well, that's a Sprite, not a Coke. Anyway, that's another show. But I'm trying to think of like some old school candy.
Oh my word. I used to love candy. Like Now and Laters, you would bite it and your teeth would literally stick together and you'd have to wait for it to dissolve to open your mouth again.
What were some other ones that you did like eat?
Nerds.
What about what was it? What were they called? The Fun Dip, where you had like the little stick and the.
Yeah. What about the bottle pops? Those were a little bit later.
The bottle pops are good.
Oh my goodness! Last week a friend gave me some Starburst. I haven't had any like in a long time. Those things are super chewy and sticky too. What in the heck? Those have been around a while.
Is it would it be safe to say that a lot of the candies are like still around? Like here's one that I like a lot when I get kind of a sweet tooth is the Charleston Chews. Oh
my goodness, yes! And if you put them in the freezer, it'll take you forever to eat.
Yeah,
maybe the
I can't do the freezer, but I love and then like I always feel guilty for like eating it. You know what I mean?
Afterwards, yeah. You know, at my grandma's house, she used to have Swiss cake rolls almost all the time. You know, like the little
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm a sucker, and I said this in one of the other shows. Like I think it was one of my guilty pleasures show was the zebra cakes.
Oh yeah,
like,
you did.
Really, any Little Debbie. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, you can't go wrong. You just can't. I don't
Now,
know.
do you remember? What about the old cereals? Remember, like Tony the Tiger?
Like
They're
Cocoa
great.
Puffs, or
Yeah.
what were and those are still around today, but honeycomb,
Fruity Pebbles are like so
all the
good.
Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, Fruity Pebbles,
Peanut Butter Crunch.
Peanut Butter Crunch. I was
Crunch
never
is
a
my
Captain
favorite.
Crunch fan though. That was like the only thing I couldn't eat it because I felt, I don't know, made me weird.
That's ludicrous, and I'm not talking about the wrapper. My goodness, seriously.
Oh my god. God,
So I'm looking up these retro recipes, and I'm about to gag. So my mom had all these cookbooks that I ended up taking and inheriting, and they had like all these weird Jello recipes, things that you could make with Jello, including meat recipes. Is that not disgusting?
I don't like. Would meatloaf be considered a retro food?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. But then spaghetti would also, right?
Yeah.
And sloppy joes.
I'm trying to look at different. They just come up with a lot of retro recipes and whatnot, and I'm not looking necessarily for the recipes. I'm trying to think of like, what are some old school things that you used to make as a kid, or that you used to eat as a kid that your parents would make for you, or maybe something that you cooked yourself that that maybe you don't necessarily make a lot of anymore. Like again, and I'll say it again, mac and cheese with hot dogs were a big thing, growing up. I remember that mashed potatoes and peas. I remember a lot of peas.
I'll tell you a secret story.
All right, go ahead.
It's not going to be secret after this. So when I was a kid, before I could eat dessert, which my favorite dessert, I don't know why, but it was chocolate pudding. My mom would make homemade chocolate pudding with whipped cream on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she would put it in these little cute cups. So I couldn't have that though if I didn't eat my dinner. And one time my mom made spaghetti, which was cool. I loved spaghetti. That was nice. But she wanted me to eat peas, and I did not like peas at all. So she said, well, okay, you don't have to eat all of your spaghetti, but you do have to eat your peas. So I was like, okay. So I took my peas and I hid them under my spaghetti. And my mom let me give the leftovers to our dog sometimes. Her name was Peggy. She was a big basset hound. Peggy did me wrong, Adam.
Oh,
Peggy did me real wrong.
She wouldn't eat the peas.
She ate the spaghetti and left the peas on the plate.
Yes.
Did me wrong.
All right, so I found a couple, and some of these are dating back to the 50s. But what's funny about this is, I remember in the 80s eating pineapple upside down cake.
Oh yeah.
Spam. I mean, I still eat spam today.
Ugh, I've never had it. I have had those nasty little.
That's all the time we have today, folks. I can't.
You've had spam?
You've never had spam?
Never.
Oh, oh God! I used to have like a case of that in my.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is it really ham?
It's meat of some sort. Doesn't matter. Fact is, spam is one of those universal foods. You can make it with any spam and toast, spam and rice, spam and eggs, spam and noodles, spam and whatever. You got anything. Deviled eggs. I love deviled eggs.
Oh yeah,
Even
I
today,
do like deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs are amazing. Milkshakes.
Yeah.
That's kind of a retro thing. Because
Yeah.
I think of milkshakes. What do you think? I think of the old like 50s. Like drive-in diners, like the Dine Fives that are still around today and stuff like that. But,
oh my goodness. You know what I really like, but I haven't had it in a long time, is a malted chocolate milkshake. So you take, like you can buy the malt stuff in the grocery store and then use chocolate and vanilla ice cream and milk.
The Whoppers.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Yeah, there's another retro candy for you right there, folks. Whoppers. I used to grind the Whoppers up and make milkshakes that way.
Oh yeah, my dad used to do that. My dad used to. Okay, so this is a retro thing, kind of popcorn with movies, right? I mean, ever since I can remember.
Oh yeah.
Well, my dad started being super cool when I think it was in the 80s. He would take Coke, like Coca-Cola.
Okay.
and cherry flavoring.
I like how you put that disclaimer in there.
Yeah, my dad never did drugs, people. So, Coca-Cola and cherry flavoring, and he would make cherry Coke before cherry Coke was even.
Okay, so he take like the grenadine, I believe is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And there was a certain drink. There was a Roy Rogers. And a Shirley Temple. Oh
yeah, Shirley Temples were like cool. Yeah, I used to think those were so cool because they look like alcohol, but they weren't.
Yeah. Now I heard a doorbell go off. Did we have somebody come in the show and we just not realize it?
No.
Oh, interesting. Here's another food. Chop suey. I remember eating a lot.
Remember the canned chop suey?
I remember eating a lot of that as a kid. And it was, and I love Asian food. I don't like chop suey.
Yeah, not in a can. And remember those little crunchy noodles? What were those little? They were little brown crunchy noodles that came in a can next to the chop suey.
Yeah, I can't.
Next to the water chestnuts. Do you remember that? They were all together. Yeah. I know, disgusting.
What about this? Do you ever fondue?
Not when I was a kid. I didn't do that till the melting pot, like in the 2000s.
Yeah, fondue was. I remember fondueing as a kid, a couple of times. But that was like, I was always kind of had the impression like if you fondued, your nose was like held high in the air because that was like for uppity people. So obviously,
now,
we didn't do it much.
I used to love going to my grandma's house. I would spend a lot of time with my grandparents. Like our family was pretty close when I was a little kid. And every time I'd go to my grandma's, pretty much she would make chocolate chip cookies. And they were the best.
Yeah. Chocolate. Yeah. Those are.
Yeah. And she let us kids take the leftover dough from the bowl and eat it. And nowadays they're like, oh, you're going to get salmonella poisoning. I'm like, come on. No, you're not. I never was sick. I turned out okay.
We were talking about well, that's we were talking about breakfast items, and I remember even during my deployment in 2003, we used to have Pop-Tarts.
I knew you were gonna say that.
And it's like I can't eat Pop-Tarts and I can't eat Pringles anymore. To this day, I don't eat either one of those things, or the little Vienna sausages that come in a can.
Yeah,
I won't eat any of that stuff anymore. But I mean, retro food. If you guys are listening to the show right now, what are some? We want to hear from you. So make sure that you guys leave a comment. Go follow us on Facebook if you're not already. Go to facebook.com/The Decision Hour. You can also follow us on Instagram now, which if you type in The Decision Hour, all one word, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. You're not mistaken.
Leave us a comment because we love hearing from you guys. We really appreciate it when we hear from you guys. What are some of your like retro foods and stuff? Excuse me, that you ate as a kid? I'm trying to think.
So I just thought of another show, retro games, or things that you used to do as a kid. This isn't particularly a food, but I used to make mud pies. We used to pretend like they were they were hamburgers or chocolate cookies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or I'd take leaves and fill them up with like these little berries off of the trees and pretend like they were tacos. We wouldn't really eat them, but we'd just pretend like they were little food that we were making. I'd also flip my bicycle upside down and pretend like it was an ice cream machine, and I could make any kind of ice cream with my bike wheels spin around and around.
Oh, that'd be kind of retro, making your own ice cream.
Yeah, for sure.
And that kind of went with our homestead living show that we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep. I think of food, and I love talking about food anyway, because obviously I like to eat. I think eating is a hobby. I don't think eating, I mean, is it necessary? Sure. Is it more fun when you do it as a hobby? Absolutely. Do I know the meaning of eating in moderation? No. Not at all.
No.
Patti will vouch for me on that one too.
Yeah, I asked Adam what his middle name was earlier. I just realized it's food. Yeah.
food, fat ass, whatever. It's, it all kind of implies. I mean, it's
Food.
I love eating food. I like cooking food. I love cooking food. And I think if I had to pick like a retro, old school kind of meal to make, I've made I'll never forget this. I was in my younger 20s. So this was a long time ago. And I remember I had a pound of bacon, a can of baked beans, and some Pillsbury dough, what do you call it? Not, I can't think of biscuits.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make I think I called it a cowboy meal. And I was like, I made a can of Bush's baked beans, I ate an entire pound of bacon with a big thing it made like 8 biscuits. I ate all of it in one night. I was sick for the next 2 days, but that's not nearly the point. I mean, the point was, it was just like I made a cowboy meal, and I lived in like this 1-bedroom apartment at the time. I don't know what the heck I was thinking, but it seemed like a fun idea at the time. And looking back on it, I was like, God, I would love to eat a pound of bacon now. That'd be so great.
Man.
I could not do it now, but I'm trying to think of like some other things. I just recently made breakfast burritos. I like making old school like chili, Midwestern. What do you call it? Comfort foods, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could go on and on and on about. I'm just gonna shut up now.
When we were talking about those little like candies that we would eat, what were those fruit candy things? I didn't eat them very much. I didn't like them. My mom would put them on my lunch, but I'd like trade them off. Fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks, yep.
Ugh, whose idea?
Those are gross. I'd like to punch that guy in the mouth, huh?
No kidding. And then our parents actually thought those were healthy.
And that's funny. You look back and all the things that we thought were healthy growing up that people are saying are not healthy now.
Yeah,
and you look at some of the stuff that we eat now, and I can't help but think like this is this age what we went through back then. Like 10, 15 years from now, this is all going to be crap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was talking to my oldest daughter last night, and we were talking about orange juice. They found that orange juice has some carcinogens in them, like some of the major orange juice brands.
Yeah, no.
And she's like, oh, we don't even eat GMOs. And I mean, those are some of that language we were talking about with food was so different from when I was a kid. We didn't have to worry about GMOs,
Well, they put all the additives and all that other stuff. It's just, it's
like whatever's in Twinkies.
Oh God, I love Twinkies.
Oh man, last year my youngest daughter and I, we went to the fair and they were frying Twinkies.
Yep, deep fried Twinkies. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Destroyed them. Ate 2 of them. It didn't feel bad. Not once.
I feel like I'm getting heavier as we talk, and I haven't even eaten breakfast yet.
I'm okay with it. Because I'm going to go to the gym later today and just do cardio. And then I figured that will counterbalance everything that I'm feeling right now. I don't even care. Here's a fact. Little fun fact about Adam that probably you guys don't know. When I go to like the store, if I have to go to Wally World or Walmart, whatever, and I'm walking up toward the checkout counter, right? And sometimes they'll have like those little Debbie snack cakes or stuff like that are out there, like the donuts and stuff like. If I see a zebra cake, I can't help it. I would say 99% of the time, I will grab at least one. Mostly 2.
Oh my goodness.
And they usually don't make it to the car.
I found myself before like getting ready to go to the grocery store, but realizing how hungry I was at the time and decided to wait to the grocery store because
never go shopping when you're hungry. Never go grocery shopping when you're hungry.
Yeah. Well, hey, so everybody listening to the show, if you're in our podcast community on Facebook, thank you for joining us because you guys are awesome. Our group is already over 300 members and we haven't even been open like a day and a half yet.
Not even a full 36 hours. Yeah.
So in honor and celebration of that, I'm going to be doing a giveaway.
What?
Yeah, I have some retro candy that we're going to
Retro
be giving
candy.
away.
Can you
Yes.
share maybe what some of that retro candy might be?
Yeah, so some of that retro candy is going to be Razzles,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Rock Candy,
Rock.
Nerds, Sweet Tarts, Sugar Daddy, Sugar Babies, Now and Laters. Yeah, so you're just going to have to see. I will be posting a photo of everything that's going to be in the package and how people can win, because I need to come up with that still. And so as soon as can't talk today. As soon as this show airs, we'll be doing the giveaway.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So make sure you guys check that out. So if you're following us on Facebook, make sure you go over to the Decision Hour podcast community on Facebook as well. And you have to answer a couple of questions before we accept you. So make sure you answer the questions, and then we can let you in the little group there that we got going on. Patti, what else do we have? We're coming up on time here pretty soon. Retro food. I still want to hear what other people have to say about retro food and what your thoughts are.
I do too, because we have an array of listeners.
Yeah,
you know, we have.
I mean, I'm thinking like all of a sudden, what popped in my mind?
What's that?
Pizza.
Oh my goodness, I love pizza.
Yeah, pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza.
Pizza's
I like pizza.
It's bad. It's so bad.
But it's so good.
It's good.
I mean, you think about it. Is pizza really bad, though? I mean, if you break down the ingredients in pizza, I mean, it basically covers all the major food groups.
Well, what about those cauliflower crusts now? That's actually not bad. Or like a flatbread pizza. I do make a flatbread pizza. It's not like
I'm
the
still trying to get
kind.
over you're trying to pan off the cauliflower. You're adding vegetables. Like, I'm a meat eater. I don't even know. What's cauliflower?
Adam,
I know.
I have to find out your middle name. I feel like Adam James Bird.
Yeah, real close.
Adam William.
Yeah, no.
Adam Keisner. I don't know where that came from.
Kaiser. Adam Kaiser Soze.
Wiener Schnitzel. All right, people. I think we've had enough for the day.
That's all the time that we have. Patti, any closing words, retro foods for our listeners?
No, just share with us what's retro to you. What did you eat when you were growing up? What memories?
Candies,
do you have of that?
soda. Oh, soda pops. That was real quick. So let me go back to that real quick. Mm-hmm. So Dad's root beer.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you can't really find anymore, but there's a company called Total Wine that has some of the old retro pops that are out there. Like a Bubble Up was another one that you know, and then there's like Sarsaparilla. I used to go down the store. You used to get those for 5 cents or 25 cents. You could get a bottle of Sarsaparilla.
I don't remember.
Sioux City Sarsaparilla was what it was called. And Bubble Up. Bubble Up was a big one because it always made me. It was like 7-Up, but it was different. It was very carbonated because I remember it used to give you the burps.
Like on Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
So I just have to share one more memory.
Yeah.
We should have ended it, but no, we keep going. So one of my very favorite memories was drinking Coke out of a glass bottle, ice cold, at my grandma's cottage when we would go fishing, and we would have a fish fry and drink ice cold Coca-Cola.
Yeah. That's a great memory to end this on. Mm-hmm. So that's all the time that we have, folks. Make sure you check out our parent network, Heroes Media Group. Simply go to www.heroesmediagroup.com. Check out all the shows. We got some new shows that are coming up here very soon, so we're excited about that. And we're going to have a store page up there soon. So if you got any products that you'd like to see in our stores, let us know. Make sure you follow Patti and I on social media. You can go to facebook.com/The Decision Hour. We're also now on Instagram, thanks to Patti's hard work and dedication, everything that she does on a daily basis for this show. Without her, we would not be where we are. So go to Instagram, and it's The Decision Hour, all one word. Check us out there. And you can follow Patti and I on all the platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just look up Adam Bird, look up Patti Catter. And we appreciate you guys being here. We want to hear from you. All right. So until next time, for Patti, I'm Adam. You've been listening to The Decision Hour.